by using your consciousness? Isn't that circular reasoning? If your consciousness could be deceiving you, so if you're using your consciousness to to know what your consciousness is, that doesn't work, because circular, a vicious circular.
You have to use your consciousness to understand that God. I'm religious, by the way, so don't think I'm hating on you. So you have to use your consciousness and this mentality to understand that God loves you. So he can still use his mentality.
But see, I'm appealing to revelation from the all-knowing being, and you're appealing to your finite knowledge, limited knowledge that you have. And so you can't appeal to that, because you could always be wrong about the nature of reality, and the things that you don't know can invalidate what you think you know.
You're always wrong about the nature of reality. You can look at science for the past 100 years. We learn new things that go, okay, this was slightly wrong, so now we modify it. That's how learning works.
But you can't know that you're learning things, like you can't know that you're learning truth if you're being deceived by your consciousness, right? And your consciousness is deceiving you, because you don't have all knowledge.
That being that you're believing in isn't deceiving you.
Because he declares that he doesn't lie, and if he was lying, then I couldn't know anything. Knowledge is not possible.
That's precisely my point. You're arguing the same situation, right? He could be lying to you, and everything you believe and everything that you are is completely just not real.
No, he couldn't.
The same
he
situation
couldn't.
that you're saying to me, there's
50%
mathematically, there's a 50% chance that he could be lying to you or telling you the truth.
No, in order for your sentence to make sense, we have to assume that God is not lying to us. Because if he was lying to us, your sentence would not be intelligible, and I couldn't trust that you were actually saying something intelligible to me. So we need the biblical worldview in which we trust in what God says, that he created human beings and he put us on planet Earth to glorify him. And we understand the biblical worldview in which we have minds, the immaterial, along with the body, the physical, the flesh. So the Bible makes that distinction between flesh and spirit. So we know there's material and immaterial. In any other worldview,
I understand that there is material and immaterial before any of that.
Well, you can't know that. Yeah, all of this could be some just illusion in a disembodied consciousness, right? You don't know that this is actually material unless God reveals to you that there's this thing called material that's different from the immaterial. So because in a dream, there's these things that seem material, right? In your dream, but it's actually immaterial.
Right? If God doesn't exist, we could all just be in a fucking situation that is inside our own head, where our own head is feeding us the information that we want to hear or don't want to hear.
I'm saying if God does not exist, and if he does not reveal to us the nature of reality, their communication is not possible, and meaning doesn't exist. So we have to assume.
If you think meaning is just like not able to be, period, without the existence of an entity, then you should really, really look into whether or not you are able to function in society.
You can't know the nature of reality unless you have it revealed to you by the one who knows everything, who created reality. There's no way that you could know, right? Because, how do we know that other minds exist? How do you know that I exist? How do you know that you're not just talking to yourself right now with somebody that's an illusion in your mind?
Because my mind is much more, how would I say this? Well, much more mathematical, 1, scientific, 2, and I will put my thought processes through logical sections. Does this make sense when it comes out of my mouth? Yes, it does. Okay. You're on a college campus. This is one of the best places in the state and in the country for learning, for researching, to learn stuff. And you're trying to tell us that what we think we see is complete just nothing.
No, I'm saying
unless God exists.
Right.
It's absolute bullcrap. That doesn't make any sense. Because what you're saying is either you're right, or if you're wrong, nothing exists, and it's all it's nothing. I'm
saying if you deny that God exists and that he reveals things, then everything is meaningless, and you can't communicate. My
point here is your argument is this: either you're right, or you're right. That's precisely what your argument is based off right now.
Appreciate what you guys are doing.
Well, I'm saying if you want to communicate, the fact that we're communicating right now, we have to assume that God created our minds as reliable, connected to one entity that is able to take in information about the world to communicate with other entities. But without God's revelation that there are multiple entities that communicate with each other, you don't know that other entities exist. It might just be you and all these different things in your mind. And all you could be is just some kind of disembodied consciousness. Maybe that's the nature of reality. You don't know. And when you say I say this, well, you could think it's one entity, but maybe the next stream of consciousness that you have actually belongs to a different entity in a different part of the universe, and you have all these entities having these different experiences that make you think it belongs to one entity in this lifetime that you have, but in reality, every day that you woke up, it was a different entity.
The potential of a hive mind.
Sure, yeah. Okay. How do you know there's not a hive mind?
I don't.
Okay, then you can't use language. Then you can't use the word I. Because you assume that you're assuming one entity when you say the word I.
When I say the word I'm assuming myself, right?
And what's myself consist of?
I understand what you're saying, but it could be completely opposite. My point is you don't know, and nobody on Earth knows whether or not is such a thing, without a doubt. And I mean like physical proof where you can go, hey, there it is.
You can't
point to it and show it and measure it and physically show by the laws of nature and physics that it's right there that there's a God, an entity, a creator.
But you couldn't know that in your worldview.
There's not a hive mind. You can't prove that it's a fucking simulation or anything like that. You don't know anything.
Well, you don't know
My whole point is humanity as a whole is a bunch of idiots that don't know, and they're using stuff like this to try and understand things that they don't know.
But how do they know the nature of reality? How do they know what is real and what's not real? You're saying we need this physical proof, but how do you get the physical proof?
To prove it. They're using stuff like religion and different aspects of life to prove that and to give themselves something to either one, believe in, two, hope for after death, or three, give them strength. Because as humans, most of us are all weak.
But you're also operating in a closed system universe when you use that thinking. Whereas Christians as us, we operate in an open system.
How is it a closed system for me to say that anything might be possible? That sounds like the exact opposite.
Because you're relegating it to just scientism itself, and the way that you just use science, which is scientism, which only operates in a closed system, whereas Christians can use both scientism and we can also use an open system where someone can come in and affect the laws of nature.
That's all science is affecting the laws of nature to oneself.
That's how miracles exist in the Bible.
Okay.
You're operating.
Everybody has a faith.
Now you're going to talk about the magical powers of God, of Satan, because Satan has some too, otherwise he wouldn't be able to get in our brains according to Christianity.
Yes, he has power.
Okay. Isn't that the same power?
What? God's power and Satan's power? God is much more powerful than Satan. Satan only does what God allows him to do.
You're proving my point for me on why I don't believe in God.
Well, I'm saying unless there's an all-knowing being who reveals to you the nature of reality, you who are not an all-knowing being could always be wrong about the nature of reality, and you can't trust in what you think. You need to trust in what God says.
I can trust in what I think. I trust myself every day.
And that doesn't work for you because you could always be wrong, right?
And what I see. I trust in my Subarus to get me around campus. I trust in my legs to move me where I need to.
Yeah, and in your worldview, you don't know that you exist. When you trust in yourself, when you trust in your finite consciousness, we all put our faith in something. You have your faith in yourself. We have our faith in the biblical worldview. You're putting your faith in this consciousness that you have, and you don't even know what your consciousness is. But you just put your faith in one version of what your consciousness could be. You just blindly put faith in one version of what your consciousness could be, and you go with that. We put our faith in what God says about our consciousness.
We put faith in one entity and accepted everything it said too.
Yeah, yes, we put our faith in the entity who has all knowledge because we acknowledge...
The difference between my entity and yours is this. I can prove to everyone around me, I can show up, I'm here. The only thing you can do, the only thing you guys can do is say, we have a Bible that some people, not God, some people thousands of years ago that we have no physical proof of showing, wrote.
You can't. You're saying you can.
You have okay.
Dude,
you are using yourself to prove yourself. That does not work.
Dude,
you're operating in a closed system.
Dude,
saying that.
You're saying you can prove.
I can't do this. I can't say I have a perpetual motion machine, and then when people say prove it, I can't go. I just have one, and this is because I say I have it. That's what the Bible does. It proves
presupposes
itself.
You have to borrow from that. That's the point.
Dude, you're saying you can prove things to people, but you don't know that other people exist. You're saying we can like physically prove things, but how can you prove anything in a worldview in which your consciousness could be all these different things and you don't know what it is and you don't know what's real and what's not real? How can you prove things when you don't know the nature of reality?
And I can understand how reality works. Like, I'm not seeing fucking unicorns running around. Like, I can legitimately look at everything and see that it's there.
Again,
go out and touch that trash can.
Again,
it's fucking there.
Hive mind. How do you know? You say I, but you don't know that I exists. Maybe it's we, and you don't know that the cat that's actually a trash can because maybe it's a car, but you just think it's a trash can because your perceptions are wrong.
It will always stay in that closed system. It can never have the creativity to go back and forth between an open and a closed system the way Christians do.
I've never seen a more closed society of people than Christians themselves. So I don't understand how, like, you can say that logically. There's been more harm done to the world because of Christianity than pretty much anything else.
And that's just your arbitrary standard again for what's harm, and it's not. I mean, in your worldview, there's nothing.
I'm pretty sure that
it's just your arbitrary
the witch
opinion.
Hunts were pretty bad.
Why? It's just why? Why is it wrong to witch hunt people? We're back to morality again. Why? Can you explain why it's wrong to murder people?
Question, please? Okay. Is it bad to go around and witch hunt women that are smart?
Yes.
Why?
Why?
Because it's morally wrong.
Why? Where do you get morality?
Precisely my point.
That's the very question, begging the question, why is it wrong? Why? You need to answer that.
Paige contact you?
Yeah. How do you know Paige? Dope. Tell her I said what's up when we see her.
Have fun.
Why do you think that murder's wrong?
If you can't understand that murder is wrong, then you shouldn't be
I do understand it's wrong. Because God created us in his image and he hates it.
Yet he was okay with slavery?
Not chattel slavery. Not man stealing like was carried out in America.
It doesn't matter. Irregardless, slavery is bad, right? God
Well, how do you know?
At one point in time was for it. And I know there's a difference between what religion you are, New Hebrew law, Old Hebrew law, all that kind of stuff. That's also another reason why I really don't believe in God, is because of man has twisted it into something pretty bad. I mean, you can see that with most mainstream Christian churches. But
why are these things wrong, dude? You don't have a good reason. It seems like your reason is, oh, I wouldn't done it. Why I wouldn't want that done to me, so I won't do it to other people. But that's just kind of arbitrary. It doesn't really. I mean, why? Why is that your reason?
Do you want society to work? Do you want society to work? That's how you base it.
Well, why should society work? Why should society work? Why?
All right.
Why?
Let's go on a hypothetical. I think society should work because I don't want to die and I want to live in a society. That being said, if humanity as a whole were to all die right now, the earth would be better off. They're 100% better off. So, that's your perverse worldview. That's your messed up worldview. Because God doesn't say that. What would happen to the earth if humans were to just disappear tomorrow?
I mean, what's the difference? Why would it be good for the earth to disappear?
The earth.
Why should the earth not be destroyed? Why?
Stop.
What's wrong with destroying the earth?
All right,
it's just your arbitrary opinion again. I don't want this thing to be destroyed. I don't want this thing to happen. Other people could say, I do want that to happen. Differing opinions. There's no set standard. And it's just meaningless in the end.
If you have to have a higher power telling you that there is standards and there has to be standards, and these are the reason why there has to be standards, then you are not capable of having logical and intelligent thought process.
Not at all. You can't know.
You should not be able to tell people that their beliefs are wrong.
Yeah, I'm saying there's an actual standard for objective morality, and I'm pointing out how you don't have objective morality. You don't have morality in the first place. You just have, I like this, And I like it, and I want it to happen. And these other people, they want the opposite to happen. They think it's good. I label this thing good. They label something completely different good also. What does good mean? Now the meaning of good has disappeared. So you do need someone to tell you what is right and what is wrong. You need the one who created reality and who will judge you based off of what he has declared to be right and wrong. And you're obligated to follow him, and if you do not, you will be punished. There's a law. There's a lawgiver. This is how reality works.
For me to stop, because like you can interject if you want. I won't stop you.
I just like listening.
Follow Jesus Christ, man. You're gonna go.
The kind of argument that you're using, and I'm not hating on you guys. I don't want me to seem like I'm being an asshole to you guys. The argument that you're using, it's not gonna work. People understand that the argument that you're using is the kind of argument that proves itself because there are no concessions to what you're saying. Does that make sense? For example, essentially what you're doing is you're saying, in any kind of argument that's in this format, it's more or less pigeonholing someone, where you're going, look, if so facto, you're incorrect because of this, and you're trying to manipulate a point of view. I never said that those were my points of view when it comes to what I personally believe is going on in the universe. I don't really believe in anything just because nothing is proven.
Do you believe in that? Do you believe in the statement you just said? You believe that you're communicating with other entities, right?
I'm speaking precisely when it comes to a higher power, not in physical, everyday, day-to-day stuff. Obviously, there's something in front of me if I'm walking into a wall. I can see that I'm talking specifically my beliefs on life after death and in a higher power. I don't believe in anything. When I say I don't believe in anything, I'm not meaning like all this.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a potential that, yeah, it might be. I mean, I couldn't prove it if it was.
Yes, you can't prove anything in your worldview because you've chosen blind faith in one interpretation of reality.
Can you prove to me